Hello and welcome to the Cisco Expert Panel Discussion. My name is Joachim Mason. Unfortunately for an expert panel discussion, I do have two experts with me, Chris Edwards and Simon Lidgett. And over the course of the next 10 minutes, we're going to show you a few things. We're going to give you some real-life examples of how customers have grown their business through adopting hyperconvergence. Those customers are across many different sectors. We're also going to give you some of the key features of hyperconvergence and Cisco HyperFlex. But before we dive into that, it's fair to say I'm a simple soul. I like simple analogies. Chris, can you give me a simple analogy as to what is hyperconvergence? Certainly.
Well, the simplest way of understanding hyperconvergence is to look at this thing. We're all familiar with a smartphone. Once upon a time, this was just that, a phone. Now it holds all of our most valuable pictures, our videos, our content. It's a computer in its own right. It still will do the function of a phone as well, but most importantly, it hosts our applications. So the applications that we use from our work life, from our social perspective, are all on here. And so the easiest analogy for us to understand is hyperconverged infrastructure, HyperFlex from Cisco, is a smartphone in your data center or in your office.
Well, I get that. So it's a smartphone for the data center. I'm an overly avid user of the smartphone, so I'm with you on this one, Chris. Simon.
Yes.
So let's take that analogy a little bit further. How does this then play out for customers in their real life data center environments?
Well, customers within the data center are looking at data center transformation. So looking to transform the architecture to make it more flexible and adaptable for those business critical applications. So if I were to use this iPad here and just show you what a typical data center looks like, you have
quite complex.
Compute, network, storage, each of those different elements trying to satisfy the operational outcome of the application. They all have a different point of view, if you like. So what we effectively do with Cisco HyperFlex is we pull all that into a single operational high performance system. So we have our compute and storage, and we connect that to a high-speed network. And that all lives within a highly scalable, adaptive system.
Okay, I think I've got that. So you guys, the reason you're experts, if you don't mind me calling you experts, you spend all of your working week out talking to our customers, hearing and understanding the business problems and the IT challenges that they're seeking to overcome. Are you able to share any of those examples as you've gone around, of how we've been able to help?
Yeah. So a good example is a car dealer we were working with. So naturally, a car dealer, their customer base lives within the few miles of their location. The customer comes in, makes an informed decision as to whether or not they want to buy the car. Great. How do they reach a broader audience? So they wanted to use video to do that. So they're digitally transforming their business to attract a wider audience. Okay. They are capturing that content, uploading it, and enabling their customers to be able to view it. That's a lot of high definition video that they needed to upload. They needed the reliability and the performance that when a customer clicked on the link, it worked. All right. If it didn't work, that you've just lost.
As an end user, if I'm diving onto that website to see a car that I want to be wowed, you need to make sure that it's a high quality experience.
Exactly, exactly that. So they needed the reliability, the performance, and they needed the scale as well. There's a lot of video content on there, right? So they want to be able to scale it independently, so they could just buy storage to connect into their hyperconverged environment. So that's what they did. So they completely transformed their business, and now they know that when a customer's going to drive 50, 60 miles to see a car, they're 2/3 of the way down that journey that they're probably going to buy that car.
And one of the key things there is that this is not a test and development type of environment. It's not a very specific small part of that customer's business. This is now supporting what is ultimately a really important, critical business process.
Completely. It's completely transformed the way that they engage with their customers. And like I say, their business is booming. So it's great, and we're proud to be part of that.
Well, I'm in the market for buying a car, so I'm going to have a look at that. So we have a car dealership. Simon, have you got an example that you could share with us? Just I know you spend a lot of your time talking to customers, so it'd be great to get some insight from yourself.
Well, you talked about business criticality, so a law firm certainly springs to mind. So they have a a fairly bespoke case management system that they were looking to re-platform, and they chose Hyperflex because what that platform gave them was a very flexible, adaptable architecture, something that was scale on demand. So they could start small and scale as they needed to, and also that platform gave them high levels of predictability and consistency, so which was a key outcome for that.
And just on that point on scale, so absolutely, when it comes to application reliability and performance, you know, that predictability and the high performance, totally vital. But just on the point of scale, because I know this has been one of the design points for us, you've mentioned your Hyperflex being designed from the ground up with scale in mind. Can you just elaborate on that for a moment?
Certainly designed from ground up for the purposes purely for hyperconvergence. So as the application workload starts to scale, we can just add compute. So as compute's needed, we can simply add that dynamically and automatically as well. In the same way we can add storage. So as the application needs more storage, we can add that into the infrastructure. It's not a problem.
So we've got a legal firm, we've got a car dealership, two different applications. You know, one is, as you said, quite bespoke. The other is, you know, using video to access new markets. So quite different, but again, where the platform is common from our perspective. Chris, have you any other examples you would share?
We've got retailers, we've got charities that are running it, we've got public sector. So one public sector organisation we were working with, they were offering managed services out to other localised services within inside the council. They need to be able to scale that. They needed to be able to burst at some capacities at some times of the year. So, and they wanted what they termed as the cloud experience. All right, they appreciated what the cloud could offer them in regards to that on-demand scaling. They liked the idea of going to a portal and just requesting infrastructure as a service. So we could manage all that. Right, we could put in a platform which enabled scale. So we put in 30% more than they needed. Okay, so at those critical times of year, they could just literally go in, consume that resource, and then scale back down again. They manage it all from one place, so they now have a cloud-inspired data center environment that can support them and the other managed services and local. So
they're essentially a provider of service, you know, delivering cloud-like experience. So again, yet another slightly different use case or application. And you mentioned the retailer, and this is one of the ones that I was more familiar with. It's a high-end retailer, 2 locations, so not loads and loads of locations. But one of the challenges that they had was that they had a virtualized desktop environment, which wasn't really performing. You know, as we understand it, the guys were coming in, logging on. It was taking them 20 minutes before the equipment was up and running, before they could get on with their work. You know, which on the one hand is great if you're just going to get a cup of tea. From a productivity perspective, it's not great.
Well, we showed the simplicity of deploying the infrastructure in that particular case. So within just under 2 hours, we had the new infrastructure in place. They moved desktop workloads onto that infrastructure, and they tested that from the end user point of view, and they reduced the boot time down to 30 seconds.
Yeah,
and so that's an incredible outcome.
And they didn't, and those guys as well, they didn't have the expertise. So they didn't have network guys, they didn't have storage guys, they didn't have compute
very
guys.
Small team.
Very small team. So this was all in one. And I think the integration to the network as well was critical for them, because it was like, great, that's just going to work. And it was it's so dependent with all their users and the branches and the tills and everything like that that's connecting to the system. That was a great use case.
A single point of management. So the management of the desktop, they use the same tool set as they used to manage Hyperflex. So everything was centralised. It was tools that they already knew. So it meant, for that small team, they didn't have to invest in more skills just to.
So small teams, growing businesses, established businesses, reinventing themselves in terms of how they access their end users, their customers, legal firms, shared IT services in public sectors. There's a whole variety of different outcomes that our customers are trying to drive in terms of driving efficiency. We've got to do that within a budget. We all do. We've got to do more with less. We've got to maximise that return on budget, even when you don't necessarily have the skills available to you directly. You need to make sure that the solution that you choose, the platform that you use is easy to run and operate and get your arms around. And ultimately, it's about end customer satisfaction, right? We can't be successful if our customers aren't satisfied, and we can't jointly be successful if your end customers aren't satisfied. So that quality of experience, that reliability, that performance is something which is which is at the heart of everything that we seek to do as Cisco and with you, our customers. Hopefully, the last 10 minutes has whetted your appetite to try and find out more. We'd love to have a further conversation with you. There's any amount of resources available if you want to go and find out some more. We'll be running webinars and lunch and learns in a Cisco location near you coming up, so there will be some details on the screen. But really, we'd love to have a conversation with you and help understand, what's going on for you, what are some of the challenges, and how we can, jointly help you overcome them. So thank you very much, and we hope to hear from you again soon.